What's up guys, it's National Master Dem Apples here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing the game more well known as the game of the century. It's the game between Donald Byrne and Bobby Fischer. And yeah, in case you don't know Bobby Fischer, he's like an American chess legend. And Donald Byrne right now is, I believe, an international master. So let's see how Fischer takes him down. So let's take a look at the game. Knight f3, knight f6, pawn to c4, g6. Fischer has always been a fan of these fianchetto setups, and honestly, they're very powerful sometimes, especially they're very dynamic, and yeah, it's really good when you want to play for the win. So we have knight to c3, we have bishop to g7, pawn to d4, he castles, Fischer castles, Fischer is playing with black, and we have bishop to f4, which, honestly, this is a very strange move, because a lot of the times black's idea in these King's Indian positions is to go d6 and e5, and you're just putting your bishop straight into that. But Fischer has other ideas, and he decides to go for a Grunfeld this time. So pawn to d5, and white goes queen to b3. Now, this is a bit of a strange move. White is voluntarily letting his queen get attacked and having to move it again, but I believe this is still fine. Pawn takes, queen takes, and now pawn to c6. As you can see, white was attacking the pawn on c7. Fischer did not want to hang it. And now we have the move pawn to e4. So out of the opening, it appears that Donald Byrne has gotten a pretty good position, right? He's got almost the dream position, you know, the dream position where you learn about, where the guy castles, connects rooks, moves the queen up, and gets his knights and bishops to these nice squares, and has a big center, you know? But black is not without his trumps either. First of all, black is already castled, and second of all, he has a lot of great pressure on white's center. Again, white is still not castled, and that's part of the dream position, right? You want to castle. You want to connect your rooks. And he's moved his queen out, but is white going to ever castle? We'll see about that. So we have knight to d7, just developing the pieces. And now we have rook to d1. This is a bit of a strange move, honestly. I feel like, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, of course, but white should have just played a bit solidly and tried to castle as soon as possible. It's the most principled option. Rook to d1 makes sense, though. It reinforces the center and brings a rook to the d file. We have knight to b6, attacking the queen, and the queen moves to c5. Now, this is a bit of a strange move, in my opinion. Like, it seems like Donald Byrne is trying to intimidate his younger opponent and overextends a bit with his queen. Anyone with anyone with some sort of logic would realize that the queen shouldn't be in the enemy territory this early on in the game, and would move their queen back to here or here, and white has a nice little advantage. Not a huge one, but he has one, and after queen to c5, things can get a bit dicey. So we have bishop to g4, pinning the knight, of course. Maybe black will take and damage the pawn structure. Maybe black won't take, and nothing will happen. But he's just developing another piece. And now we have bishop to g5. This is a very strange move, honestly. Donald Byrne is moving his pieces twice in the opening for no reason. And yeah, bishop to g5 doesn't really accomplish anything if you think about it, right? Perhaps he's thinking to kick the knight and then, like, I don't know, fork the pieces on e7 or d8. So let's say, I don't know, black does something stupid, e5, and I don't know, knight h5, and then he wins material. But this doesn't even work. First of all, black can go to d5, so there's no reason to do that. And so there is really no logic behind this bishop to g5 move. And in fact, this move is counterproductive for white's position, because Fischer finds a really nice move to take the initiative from Team White. So I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can find this move for yourself. Alright, hopefully you've paused the video and tried to find Fischer's move. But yeah, he exploits the fact that the queen and the bishop are awkwardly placed and plays knight to a4 attacking the queen. And so what's his idea? Well, he simply wants to take the knight and then take this free pawn, of course. White cannot really take here, or else black will take this pawn. And yeah, white's definitely in a pickle if he moves the queen away. Well, there is this pretty nice move. I mean, there are multiple good moves, but takes, and bishop takes, king takes, and something simple. Even bishop d4 works. The engine is really like king c5 and b5, but white can't castle, black isn't down material, and white's pieces are very strangely placed. Again, black can also win a pawn if he wants. So, black is definitely doing very well here. So instead, you'd have to calculate bishop takes pawn on e7, as well as maybe queen takes pawn on e7. Maybe not this one so much because queen to a5 and black is winning their pieces back immediately. But you have to calculate bishop takes e7, but this is really not a big deal. First of all, there is this really nice move, rook to e8, sacrificing the queen temporarily. But after this, black wins back the knight. White's bishop is in trouble. His king is still in the center. Black's gonna scoop up some more pawns. White's in big trouble here. I particularly like rook to e8, apparently queen to c7. Just very simple is fine as well. But, yeah. So, Donald Byrne here realizes that he has messed up. And he doesn't want to give Fischer what he wants and goes queen to a3, maintaining his pressure on this pawn. Fischer plays a really logical move, right? He takes this, and, well, he has to take back with the pawn, right? Because he can't stop the pressure on e7. We have takes, and Fischer takes this pawn on e4, which is exactly what Donald Byrne thought he couldn't do, which is confusing, right? He was like, oh, I'm gonna fork you, right? But that's what he played. And it's like, this is a fork. And he's right. I mean, oh, voice crack. Okay. But the problem is he's not developed. And the thing is, in these Grunfeld and Fianchetto type positions, the dark squared bishop is really, really valuable. And oftentimes you can sacrifice a rook just to get rid of your opponent's dark squared bishop in these kinds of positions. So even though white is winning his pawn back, and it seems like he's winning more material after that. So Fischer plays queen to b6. Obviously his queen is attacked and he has to move it out of the way. He's perfectly fine with losing his rook, and so his opponent's like, okay, well, I'm not going to take your rook. Why does he not take the rook? Well, let's take a look. Black is going to take back with the punch on the queen. Queen b3. Usually when you're up material, you want to exchange queens, but this is not going to, even the exchange of queens isn't going to help white. After rook to e8, white has some serious problems on the e-file, and this pawn is going to be hanging after all the complications. This knight's under pressure, all these pawns are hanging, black can push his pawns and win the game. But more importantly, like say white takes the queen, right? Even something like knight takes c3 is winning, but let's say he takes back. There's not really a good way to stop the discovery in this check. For example, like bishop e2 is very bad. This is no bueno. Black is going to win more material after this. And if not, white's pieces are all tied up. Bishop b4, and yeah, white's probably not going to get out of this alive. So Donald Byrne realizes again, oh, I messed up. Now, he's messed up multiple times already in this game, played some very gutsy moves, and yeah, none of them were good because Fischer was able to thwart them pretty well. So he doesn't even take the rook, he just goes bishop to c4, developing a piece, and yes, this is the best move. But Fischer realizes, well, I mean, your queen is defending your bishop, right? But what if I take this free pawn? And he's right? If queen takes here, his point is just very simple. He's going to move either of these rooks, this one looks more natural to me, and simply win his bishop back. And then he's going to be up a pawn, and he's probably not going to lose the game, but he probably will win the game, more likely than not. So, nope, not that. Queen to b6, bishop c4, knight c3. And so, he realizes he messed up, right? And so he's like, okay, well, how do I get myself out of this mess? I caused confusion. So let me save my bishop, right? And maintain my attack on this knight. So, Donald Byrne goes bishop to c5, attacking black's queen. And, well, obviously this leaves the king open to be checked, so the king is indeed checked. The king moves to f1, and now Donald Byrne is probably pretty happy because he's got an attack on the knight, he's got an attack on the queen, and you can't defend either of them, so haha, screw you, right? But Fischer plays this one move, and Donald Byrne really has to go shut up. So let's pause the video and see if you can find Fischer's move. Hopefully you've paused the video and given this position a bit of thought, but the move that Fischer plays here is queen to bishop e6. Yes, bishop e6. What does this move do? Well, it attacks a bishop first and foremost. Now, okay, I like to start with the simple moves first. So what if white simply takes the bishop? You still have a hanging knight and you still have a hanging queen, right? But not really. Because after queen to b5, of course, white can block with a lot of pieces. But let's just say this, right? This is a very simple smothered mate. And if the game ended like this would truly be the game of the century. I mean, you can't tell me that's not funny. But he's not going to fall for that, right? And so, let's take a look. What if queen takes knight? That's also a free knight. Well, not really, because there is a pin, and the dark squared bishop has finally come to life. D takes, and bishop takes queen. Black is up a point in an endgame, and white really doesn't have counterplay, and white's king is still weak. His rook is not active. It should be pretty much a breeze for black to win this endgame. So bishop to e6 is played. And so, what else is there, right? So, logically, he takes the queen. And we have bishop takes bishop, check. The king just moves to g1, knight check. And this is what we call in chess as the windmill, where there is like this piece that's going to be attacking the queen. And it's a discover check. That's just how the windmill works. And you just take everything. So we have knight takes d4. Just being mean to the opponent. Now, I don't know why he took this pawn, but honestly, you might as well. It's a free pawn, and you're just abusing the windmill again. So, king to g1. Like, what else is white supposed to do? Now, Fischer has a draw if he wants, but he's definitely not going to accept this draw. After all, even if he just simply takes back the bishop, he's only down 1 point. But look, is this really a 5-point rook? This looks like a 0-point rook, to be honest. If you really think about it, black is definitely up material. We still have knight to e2 check. King here, check, king to g1, and now Fischer takes the bishop. He takes the bishop because, well, this comes with an attack on the queen, logically, and he can take the rook anytime he wants, because danger levels, the queen and the rook are both attacked. So, realizing that he messed up and he's going to be down a lot of material, queen to b4 is played, but after rook to a4, everything is protected. Black's coordination is supreme, and, well, white's simply going to lose his rook next, so he takes a pawn and loses his rook. Now, black is up 3 points, has a dominant position with really active pieces, and white has a 0-point rook. But how do you finish the job? I mean, if you let white get a few more moves, maybe he'll get his rook active, right? Now, honestly, the rest of the game is not as interesting, but it is still good to know how, well, black converted this position up 3 points of material, because I know plenty of games where people just weren't able to convert. So, we have pawn to h3, trying to activate the rook, but Fischer just takes more pawns. That's just simply how you win. If you take more pawns, you'll probably win the endgame. King h2, knight f2. I mean, this is hopeless for white, though, to be honest. He's down 5 points of material. Rook e1 is played. And honestly, this is not a good idea. I don't think you should be trading pieces when you're down material, so, well, he just logically trades. Queen to d8. This is not checkmate. Black can block with the bishop. And now knight takes knight takes rook. On d1, bishop to d5, centralizing the bishop. There is a lot of coordination on the g2 square. Knight f3, knight e4, unleashing the rook. We have queen to b8, and just being mean. This is something that you have to do when sometimes, just to bully your opponent. not give them the smallest of things. The best move here is king to g7, but why would you give white this pawn? Pawn to b5. Fischer was already so cruel at a young age. So we have pawn to h4, pawn to h5. This is such an instructive move, giving white no chance. White wants to go h5 and maybe create some sort of attack. I don't know. But no, Fischer says no, nothing for you. I mean, this is the way you convert positions, right? You give your opponent absolutely zero counterplay, and that's what I learned a lot from this game. We have knight to e5, king g7, giving white no counterplay. He doesn't even want white to have a pin on him anymore. And this is just so evil. King to g1, bishop c5, now everything is coming in. I had a game against another chess master that was pretty similar to this game, where I won a lot of pieces for a queen. And yeah, the pieces just managed to dominate. The queen is not very powerful when you have a lot more material and a lot of pawns. So the game is essentially over after check. There is forced mate. There's a very nice checkmate, bishop to b4. Look at how nicely black's pieces are coordinating just to checkmate the white king, especially the rook, cutting off the king from the entire rank. We have check, and now there is a very simple forced mate after king c1. We have knight to e2, just getting the last piece in, and after king to b1, knight to c3 check, king to c1, rook to c2. All the pieces are helping in this very beautiful, picturesque checkmate. And so, yeah, I can see why people called this the game of the century. It really sparked a turning point and showed like how good Bobby Fischer was and why he became the American chess legend he is known as today. So, yeah, just a beautiful game by Fischer. Finding these really obscure tactics, just trying to confuse his opponent. Like, not a6, but like, it's moves like knight to a4 that really mess with your mind, as well as the moves like bishop to e6. And so, what did we learn? Well, you gotta confuse your opponent sometimes, and also don't play really unprincipled chess. Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, just castle. There's no need to go for queen to c5 and bishop to g5 when you're not doing anything. You got a bit overzealous against this young opponent, but don't underestimate your opponents, guys. That's how you lose. And don't be like Donald Byrne and lose to Bobby Fischer. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.